Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here, and I'm looking for you to share in an adventure.
May it be an evening star shines down upon you. May it be when darkness falls, your heart will be true.
Today is a very special throwback day, with the Hobbit's second film in this brand new Peter Jackson trilogy premiering this weekend. I felt that it was appropriate to actually do a throwback, a three-part throwback, of course, on Peter Jackson's probably one of his greatest achievements, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. This is going to be the first of three. I know that the next two will actually be shown on an individual basis. The Two Towers will actually be shown when I get the release date for the extended edition of The Desolation of Smaug on DVD, and the Return of the King review will be posted around the premiere of the third installment in the Hobbit trilogy, There and Back Again. So for now, we're going to focus on The Fellowship of the Ring, of course based on J.R.R. Tolkien's grand novel. Taking from The Hobbit, it's a story that just takes the world of Middle-earth and expands it to great lengths. And now, as far as the movie goes, I had bits and pieces throughout all of my reviews that I had been posting on YouTube for the past 3 years, but I never truly got a chance to really sit down and go through this film trilogy. And this is a trilogy that needs to be analyzed film by film, because I can say this without a shadow of a doubt. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is probably the greatest piece of cinema ever. Up there with some of the most epic films like Lawrence of Arabia, Casablanca, The Ten Commandments, Gladiator, Titanic, Gone with the Wind. The Fellowship of the Rings, while it may be fantasy-based, is very much well-deserving of a spot of that grandeur. Peter Jackson, a director that no one ever really heard of. If anyone had seen The Frighteners, then, big ups to you. This was a thing that has been going throughout Hollywood for a long time. We saw the animated versions of the Lord of the Rings stories, and to make a live-action film was something that Hollywood has been bouncing around everywhere. It was such a burden, very much like The Ring itself. That was a really hard task to take. But this guy, Peter Jackson, and his team from New Zealand at Weta Digital just said, you know something? We can do this. They did a phenomenal job with the first installment, putting together a wonderful ensemble cast of characters. A couple of people that I never would have imagined to see in a movie of this kind of grandeur, like Elijah Wood and Sean Astin. But you also had a lot of other well-known actors like Sean Bean, Sir Ian McKellen, the great Christopher Lee and Cate Blanchett, John Rhys-Davies from the Indiana Jones trilogy, and Hugo Weaving from the recent Matrix films, and you also had, of course, the great Ian Holm, but then you also had a whole bunch of people that you never heard of, and it was really their time to either make a name for themselves or really let someone know, you know something, hey, I'm here. I think probably the biggest surprise was Liv Tyler, and of course you had Viggo Mortensen, Billy Boyd, and Dominic Monaghan, and an unknown Andy Serkis playing the creature Gollum. This movie is amazing. Beautiful backgrounds of the New Zealand landscape, fantastic dialogue between characters, a real homage to the book itself. Now, even though there were a couple of things that were actually eliminated, a lot of people constantly talk about Tom Bombadil, but you want to know something? When you transfer a book to cinema, if you want to do it right, you actually have to take out the stuff that's just not necessary or needed. And Tom Bombadil, while he is a great part of the first book, there's really no reason for him to be there. And the fact that Arwen replaces Glorfindel, no reason that you can't do that, especially considering the fact that there's very little female characters that are actually strong in these stories. So the fact that they actually brought out Liv Tyler's character was great. Now, the extended edition makes the film even better than before, because it gives you more character development, some scenes that may not be important, but just to see more of the landscape, the length of the journey of the Fellowship, and even some really great scenes like the passing of the elves going to the Grey Havens. That's just a beautiful scene, and Aragorn looking at the grave of his mother in Rivendell, another great scene that really expands upon his character. Once again, just a beautiful, beautiful film. The score adds a whole other dimension. Howard Shore does a beautiful job with the score, makes it powerful, makes it emotional, makes it happy, makes it sad, makes it peaceful. There's just so much that this film brings to film in general. It's a film that really everyone needs to see. You don't have to be a fan of the Lord of the Rings books. Yes, it's important to actually have read the books, because they are some of the best in all of literature, but you don't have to be a reader of the books to really embrace these films and just look at these as incredible epic films. And The Fellowship of the Ring is just the beginning of an amazing and epic story. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to use this word epic because that's exactly what this movie is. It is an amazing, epic fantasy story, and it just is made in such high class and beautiful fashion with fans of film and fans of the Lord of the Rings story in mind. And I will say that when I finished watching the first film, I was awestruck by what I watched. Believe it or not, when I actually got the extended edition, I'm so glad that these extended editions exist, because there's so much amazing special features in here about how all these people just came together to turn this movie into what it was, and what it is, and what it will be for further generations down the line, because these three films are going to be preserved till the end of their days. They're going to be in all the major archives. They'll be re-released, I'm sure. And I just say that if you haven't seen this movie trilogy, go out there, but don't watch all of these in one sitting, because you'll never be able to get through of it. I did it once, and believe me, it wasn't one of the easiest things that I had to bear, because it took me a long time to actually pick those films up and watch them again. But to watch the first of three, especially with the Hobbit films now in releases, it was so great to see it again. I still love this movie, and The Fellowship of the Ring is going to get 4 out of 4. And that's it, guys. Throw your thoughts out there. If you haven't seen Lord of the Rings, I'd be more than willing to try and convince you, because it really is a great trilogy. And I hope that in the future, when it comes to me doing these throwback days, I will do more reviews of film trilogies, but it will be really rare to actually see me review each one by one. They have to be just that amazing to really be analyzed bit by bit. So, hope you enjoyed this one. Looking forward to the next two. Go out and see The Fellowship of the Ring. Go out and see The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. And actions speak louder than words.